The first day of Hanukkah is on Wednesday. Christmas Day, of course, is on Wednesday. And I would like to tell everybody out there that my gift to all of you is that you only have to watch 2 more Tennessee Titans football games this season. Happy holidays to all of you.
That's an early Christmas present right there.
Yes, absolutely. Just if you did not watch the game yesterday and you just happened to check the score and you saw the Titans lost 38-30, you might have assumed it was a close, entertaining game. Well, you would be wrong because the Titans were down 38-7 in the third quarter. And Derek, one thing we talked about last week was after Brian Callahan came out and said that his team wasn't soft, he passionately defended his team from such allegations. The one thing we said the other day was his team better go out there and compete on Sunday. Well, although they did make a late charge to make the final score more respectable, 38-7 was absolutely the worst possible thing that could happen to Brian Callahan after his comments at his news conference last week went viral. We talk about soft, and we talked about how soft can sometimes be confused with bad. Yes. But the one thing that we know is that when we're talking about a team's toughness, oftentimes we're talking about their defense. And yesterday, the Titans allowed 335 yards on the ground, which was the second most by a Titans/Oilers defense in franchise history. You have to go all the way back to 1961 for the last time that the Oilers-Titans franchise allowed more than 335 yards on the ground. And by the way, that was the AFL, not the NFL. The Dallas Texans had 398 rushing yards against the Houston Oilers on October 1st, 1961. So I do want to give the Titans partial credit, perhaps, for the fact that they did not just roll over after the Colts went up 38-7, but just an ugly, ugly performance, and not the performance, Derek, that you want to see from this team after their coach defended them from allegations that they were quote unquote soft.
Yeah, it's not something that you wanted to hear or you wanted to see after, what Brian Callahan said in the middle of last week. I think it was Wednesday, when the question was brought up, was his team soft or not? And he did what was right. He defended his team. And what you expect to happen is for your team to come out with some fire. And they did, for whatever reason, they did. Now, that doesn't mean they're soft. They just didn't come out with any fire. There was a sense of urgency from the Indianapolis coach. And it wasn't a sense of urgency the way we sort of think about it. When you see a team with that sense of urgency, it's like, okay, we're about to spread you out 5 wides, 4 wides, and we about to start going down the field because we know we got to get this game. No, they had a different sense of urgency. It was the physicality part. We have to show our dominance and our physicality early on in this game. And they knew the ramifications of this game, and the Tennessee Titans, for some reason, didn't. Again, for me, it's not necessarily about wins and losses. It's about how do you go out there and perform these last 3 games. And for about 2 quarters, the Indianapolis coach dominated them. They dominated the defensive line, and they dominated the offensive line. And they ran the ball on a team that prized themselves on stopping a run. So they took the physicality to you, and you didn't respond until it was too late. Now, throwing interceptions don't help, and penalties don't help. But, you have to figure out how to stop a team from running the football, because they made it. There was no secret about what they were doing. No secret whatsoever. You picked up on that very early. They were not going to allow Richardson to throw the football, meaning the Indianapolis Colts. And I'm not talking about the Tennessee Titans. I'm hitting the Indianapolis Colts. They did not want Richardson to throw the football. They wanted to run the football and set a tempo and a tone. And they did exactly that. And for whatever reason, the Tennessee Titans chose not to reciprocate that type of energy. They waited until waited till a quarter and a half was left in the game before they started to show life. And at that point, it was a tad bit too late. So, gosh, man, you just wonder, where did this come from? Because they've lost a few games bad this season. They have. And they got dominated in second halves bad this season, a few games. But I don't think anything looked like that. And when I mean look like that, I'm just talking about them not being able to stop the run. Because, hell, Indianapolis didn't do much in the pass game.
Hey, Derek, Brian Callahan. Brian, I'm sorry to interrupt, Derek.
Yeah.
Brian Callahan is at the podium addressing reporters. We'll hold that thought and take you there now.
At this season, and the body's available. And so I'll have more updates as the week goes on. I don't have as many today. But we got a handful of guys pretty banged up. So we'll see how the week goes. Go ahead.
Kelly, have you thought about making another switch at quarterback after, I mean, their stats are so similar. Do you need to see more out of Levis now?
No, I haven't made any decisions on that. I thought Mason, outside of the one interception at the end of the half, that was kind of his one poor decision of the game. That was one he'd like to have back. I thought he did a lot of other really pretty positive things in that game. You know, he was efficient and he found ways to complete the ball, and he got the ball out of his hand, and those things were good. So it was a relatively good performance by Mason. You know, the other interception bounces off Tony's hands. You can't have it. I mean, we can't have those. Tony's got to come down with the ball. And then the last one was just there's 3 seconds left, last play of the game, seeing if he can get something. So thought he had a good performance, but ultimately, you know, we needed a little bit more. Can't have the turnover in a critical spot. So that's sort of been our Achilles heel most of the season, is turnovers in big spots that swing momentums in games for us. So that part was disappointing, but I haven't made any decision on that.
Consider, I guess, if you are going to make a decision or not going to make them, what's kind of going through your mind on trying to decide where to go from here there?
You know, I just think that still the idea is to put ourselves in the best chance to win, and who gives us the best chance to do that. And again, I understand the stats are sometimes similar. The stats don't always paint the full picture either direction to one guy or the other at this point. So my goal is to try to put the best chance to win on the field for us, and we'll see what that looks like. But that's always going to be my focus, and my responsibility is to do that. So that's ultimately what I'm looking for, and what the team is looking for.
How do you, I guess, explain or kind of make sense of the run defense? Like big discrepancy over the last several weeks. There's been 2 where it's just been really, really poor.
Yeah.
2 in between that have been pretty good. Is that hard to figure?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I mean, there's things that are revealing and telling in certain games. I mean, clearly the 2 games where the quarterback run game is a huge part of it. Changes how you play against those schemes. We've not done a great job handling those styles of offenses right now. You know, it puts a different mentality in place when you're playing a traditional run game. You know, you can attack and you can come downhill and you can do the things that we do pretty well. When the quarterback's involved in the run game, it changes a little bit of, your ends have to play the quarterback. You have to be assignment driven. You have to have hats where they're supposed to be in terms of the RPO game and the quarterback. And so you have to be assigned correctly. It's a little bit less of go disrupt than it is where you got to be a little more on top of the details. And then again, when you start playing in some single high defenses, what happened to us in the game on both the long runs was, you're in a single high defense and you have to fit it right. Otherwise it ends up being it can be a big explosive play because you got so many people by the box. And so that's what happened on the one run, the Jonathan Taylor's. We're in a single high and we misfit the run, and the run gets to the second level. We don't make the tackle. And he gets out for 70, and that's really, it was three big runs that happened in that situation that made that day look as bad as it did. We still fought. I mean, they ran the ball a ton of times, but the big ones is where we can't have. We got at least again, even at the end of the day, get them on the ground for a 20-yard gain. Just don't give up a 70-yard touchdown, which we didn't do a good enough job there. But we misfit some runs that led to some big runs, and that was just kind of the story of the game.
And the way guys react to it. Well, it's just fits. We got to fit better. Well, run stopping's actually pretty easy. Well, it's all 11 guys.
You don't have to yell. You can ask questions.
Thanks. Well, it's all 11 guys. It wasn't me. Well, it was better when I was on the field. It seemed like a lot of guys really had an easy time coming to terms with it. How do you feel about that?
I didn't see any of that, Paul, to be honest. I didn't watch it. I didn't see any of the player interviews or anything like that. But I don't sense that from our players, what they say after games, and sometimes there's emotion involved in it. Don't feel like that is indicative of what I experience when I interact with them. Certainly, I'm as embarrassed as anybody that was what we put on the field, and I think they are too. That is not obviously anywhere close to acceptable performance in the run game. I don't really know how they personally felt about every part of it, but collectively, we had to play better in the run game than we did, and we didn't do enough things right, and that's how you get run for the amount of yards we got run on. So, again, I can't comment to what they said after the game, but I just know that I would hope that they feel just as embarrassed as I do that that's a performance that we can't put out there.
One of the Colts players said something after the game along the lines of he heard one of your players say, well, this feels like a day Taylor's going to go for 300. Did you sense that kind of resignation from the defenders, that they just kind of thought that was going to happen?
No, I didn't. I think I can't comment to what they said, but we knew it was going to be a game where they're going to hand the ball off a bunch. The quarterback, that's what they've done the last handful of games too. It's sort of been their formula for success is they run the ball a lot. The quarterback doesn't throw it a lot, and they're going to try to hand it to him as many times as possible. He's playing really well. Both in the quarterback's playing well in the run game, and Jonathan Taylor's been running the ball pretty fantastically over the last handful of games. So, the expectation was that they were going to run the football a lot, and it wasn't anything that we didn't expect. We just didn't do a good enough job defending it.
Graham Williams, maybe being inexperienced late round rookies, were they having issues getting in the right spots and all?
They did some good things. They flashed some of their talent that they have, but you could see that they had some rookie moments in there as well. Cedric was productive on the ball. I thought he showed some things that was good to see, but you saw their inexperience against that style of run game show up a little bit. And again, everybody on defense has to be better against the run game, and they're certainly a part of that process. And you do have to have 11 guys doing the right thing to stop the run, and guys taking care of their gaps and being where they're supposed to be. And we didn't have enough of that during the game.
I said that you didn't adjust, and they kind of referred the question back to you as to why adjustments weren't made. Were you guys coaching for change in the way you were defending the run, and how did players respond?
Yeah, I thought they, we tried a bunch of different things. We were playing some man coverage against some of that RPO stuff, which is what you have to do against quarterback run game. We pressured it quite a bit. We played some middle field open. We sort of rolled through a bunch of different things to try to slow some of it down, and some of it worked pretty good. And again, it's the explosive runs that got out that made it look way worse. But yeah, I thought Denard did a good job trying to mix it up and change the look. So again, I can't speak to that necessarily if that's what they felt like. My door's open if they want to come express those things.
A month ago, you guys beat Houston, and on this day, everybody kind of was saying, feels like we've maybe turned a corner. We're looking for more consistency. Since then, bad rush defense and turnovers in Washington, can't score on offense against Jacksonville, turnover crowd in Cincinnati. Yeah. Yesterday's the worst rush defense ever. Why has there been no consistency, and how do you clog the very different things that have haunted you in the last month?
Yeah, that's what that's what we work every day to try to do is find a way to keep getting things better, fix mistakes. They've all come in different ways and shapes and forms. It's not always the same thing. It's something different comes up. We end up throwing interceptions in bad spots. We've struggled to defend some of the quarterback run game in the last couple of weeks. It's been an up and down ride, and I think that's what we're we're trying to do our best to find more consistency. And that's when I talk about down to down consistency. It's drive to drive. It's game to game. We're just too up and down. We don't have. We back up good performances on one side of the ball with a poor one on the other. We have a good performance here in one game and then a poor performance in the next one. And so we're trying to find ways to continue our build consistency. And that's been our biggest challenge this year is playing at the level and the spot that you need to play every single play, every single game over the course of 17 games. And it's never going to be perfect. You're never going to get everything exactly the way that you want it. But we certainly have to do a better job than we've done. And it's been hard to fix every problem every week. And it's when one shows up when you thought you kind of addressed it. So yeah, it's been a challenge and we're continuing to work on it. We got 2 more weeks to try to keep coaching it.
The concern, I guess, Brian, for you and the coaching staff, I mean, you guys have talked about, the future and promise and so forth, but only 2 more opportunities to show bottom line results. I guess, are you concerned about the lack of opportunities left to show bottom line results?
Yeah. I mean, I wish we had a whole lot more to show for what we've done this year. As when you look back and the amount of work that we put in since we got here and the amount of effort that's gone into it, to have this particular moment be where we are is not at all what I would have expected, to have it be as challenging as it's been. But it's certainly been challenging, and we've not done a good enough job of producing the way you have to produce on Sundays. Even though I saw a lot of things that I believe in that we do the right way, but we haven't won enough football games, and it's a bottom line business, and we got to show progress, and we haven't shown enough. Would like to see more, and we got 2 more opportunities to do it. And as they say, don't count the opportunities. You got to make the opportunities count, and we got to do that for the last 2 weeks.
How do teams build consistency when it's taking a while to get it going? And does it take this long in the past, or is this kind of the longest you've seen to get it going?
No, I mean, it's, there's a lot of things that go into it, but yeah, I mean, I've been a part of, a couple different year 1 processes, and they look, pretty similar. Year 1 in Oakland, and I had a year 1 in Cincinnati, and you're fighting through all the same things you got to fight through, and you got to keep improving. Keep improving the coaching. You got to keep improving your roster. You got to keep building the whole process. And I think that there's a lot of things we've done well. Enough of them don't show up outwardly. And that's kind of been the frustration, is the performance on Sundays hasn't matched what the preparation looks like, what the energy looks like. The disappointing things, I thought we had one of our best Friday practices in terms of energy, execution, like on top of all the things you got to be on top of. And then it doesn't translate, to start the game, or at least that first half, it gets away from us. So I think the biggest issue we have right now, though, is that, we lead the league in turnovers. I mean, it's that part's, you're going to lose a whole lot of games turning the ball over at the rate we've turned it over. I think what do we have, 31 turnovers or something like that? I mean, that's insanity. So, it's going to make it really hard. And that's where the last 2 games have gotten away from us. We've turned the ball over twice in 2 straight games in the waning minutes of the half, and it turns into, we could have gone in at 17-7 in the halftime, and it looks a little different, and all of a sudden it's 24, and then they get the ball back, and it's 31, and that's how you lose games in this league. And if you turn the ball over and put yourself in bad spots, and they capitalize on it, it makes it really difficult. So I would say the biggest issue we have right now is the turnover problem, and that's you want to build consistency, and you want to do things better, and you got to make sure you take care of the football.
One of the changes that you've made for the work, it looks like the last couple of weeks, you've embraced running the football down to the goal line, and I think your red zone numbers have gotten a lot better in the process. Yeah,
I think we're 7 for 7 in the last 2 weeks, which is really positive. We've run the ball a bunch. We've used our goal line package. It's worked out well for us. I think that part's been good. We've sort of shifted and pivoted and started doing more of that, and it's paid dividends for us. Yeah, I'm that part I am pleased about. I'm pleased about how we played on 3rd down too over the last handful of weeks. I think, we're right around, hovering around 50% on 3rd down, which is pretty dang good. So there is things that we're doing well, but again, not enough of it's contributing to winning football games yet.
Going back to the quarterback situation, if you stick with Mason and Will doesn't see any more action this year, are you concerned psyche-wise for him that his last performance would be his worst of the year?
No, I'm not. I think those are that's part of playing NFL quarterback. There's a lot of stuff that's hard about playing the position. And that's how things go. And you got to find a way to bounce back and rebound. And, that's the expectation.
Was there any one play, I guess, that led to the switch of NPF and Ojukwu yesterday? Or?
It was the sack on the third down that we had a chance. As Mason was working back and just felt like it needed a change in that moment. He had a couple things that weren't great that we just felt like it was make a change and see what else we can do with the other guy.
That was Tennessee Titans head coach Brian Callahan addressing reporters at St. Thomas Sports Park. We will react to what he had to say. Coming up next, you can get in on the conversation as well. 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Tune into 93.3 FM. Totally Hits Nashville tonight for MTSU men's basketball. The Blue Raiders take on number 1 Tennessee in Knoxville. Tip-off is at 6 with the pregame beginning at 5:30. Coverage also available on the Totally Hits Nashville app and at TotallyHitsNashville.com. Tune into 102.5, 106.3 The Game this Friday for Vanderbilt football, presented by Prince's Hot Chicken. The Commodores will take on Georgia Tech in the Birmingham Bowl with pregame beginning at 1 o'clock and kickoff at 2:30. Coverage is also available on the 102.5 The Game app and at theGameNashville.com. Derek Mason and Adam Vingan here with you. We just heard from Tennessee Titans head coach Brian Callahan. Titans lose 38-30 to the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday. And Derek, I want to continue the conversation about the rushing defense or lack thereof. There was a statistic I saw about this game that was most concerning to me. And that was the fact that the Colts averaged roughly 4.4 yards before contact per carry yesterday, which was the most the Titans have allowed in a game this season. It really did feel that whether it was Jonathan Taylor or Anthony Richardson breaking off a big run, it really felt as if though the Titans were putting up little resistance in doing so. But with all of the big numbers, 335 rushing yards allowed total, Jonathan Taylor, 218 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns, a 70-yard touchdown on the first play of the second half. All of those things. The fact that the Colts averaged more than 4 yards before contact per carry, which is a season high for the Titans, that really stood out to me as something quite concerning.
Yeah, and it should be, especially for a defense that prides themselves on stopping the run first and foremost. They didn't do much of that yesterday against the Indianapolis Colts. Now, mind you, they were without both of their inside linebackers, their starters, and then the backups end up getting hurt, I believe, after that. You had Gibbons who got hurt last week, so you got to throw another guy in there. They ended up the game with, I think, James Williams and Cedric Gray playing linebacker for that team. And you're talking about playing significant minutes, not, the garbage time at the end of the game. So when you don't have your 2 starting linebackers and then their backups are hurt, and you throw in, guys that you didn't intend on playing, this is what happens. Now, that's no excuse because they had their front 4, Jeffrey Simmons and the guys, and they still weren't able to do much, stopping him when Jeff was out there. I know T'Vondre Sweat ended up getting poked in the eye, so he was out a bit of the game. But when he came back in, it seemed like the defensive line started to get a tad bit better, but still they couldn't stop anyone. But this is what happens. Again, when your team from the start isn't good, your roster isn't good, and then you have injuries especially along your defensive front when you're playing a team like the Indianapolis Colts, who basically, they basically have a 2-headed monster, either with Jonathan Taylor or Richardson running the football. And if you're not stout up front to stop the run, it's going to be a long day. And if those linebackers can't scrape and make tackles, because that's what you put those big 300-pounders in there for, is to clog up 2 or 3 blockers and for those linebackers to scrape and make tackles. And yesterday, they took bad angles. They were missing tackles. And even when they did make a tackle, the running back was still able to get a couple of more yards after, the first initial contact. So I can't see it getting any better for this team, honestly, because, again, they have no depth, and guys that you're asking to play now aren't guys that you were dependent on when the season started. I went through a situation like this, with a secondary that was depleted. And I remember the game with Kansas City put up over 40 points against our secondary. We were trying to stop them, but we didn't have the horses out there to stop them. Why? Because both of our corners were injured, and then their backups ended up getting injured. Then you throw in guys that you hadn't depended on during the season or who hadn't played much, and that's what happens. And that's exactly what happened with the Tennessee Titans. But yet and still, again, regardless, that front, they should have done a better job because if they would have got the tackler down with the initial tackle, Indianapolis Colts wouldn't have that many yards rushing.
Eric is on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Eric, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Yes, first of all, I want to wish you both a Merry Christmas, all every listeners, everybody out there, very, very Merry Christmas, and hope you enjoy the holidays.
Thank you. Same
Thank
to you,
you,
too,
Eric.
Eric.
Guys, before I get to the game yesterday, one quick thing about, I know one of the things, of course, you keep hearing everybody say, oh, we got to clean house and, get rid of everybody's stuff. And I get it. I'm not going to get on here and argue whether or not you're or not, because I just don't know about these things, and I'm no expert, because that's the natural reaction. But I just don't want to do that because, of course, I'm already paying Robinson. You're already still paying Mike Vrabel. Do you really want to get rid of enough staff and bring on another staff and be paying all these people? So I don't know if they're going to do that or not. They could do that, but I just would be surprised. Probably wouldn't be shocked, but I'd be surprised they do that. But as far as the game yesterday, a couple of things, guys. I, too, was surprised and disappointed by the defensive play that they got pushed around, because we've been able to corral Jonathan Taylor, but we certainly were able to do that yesterday. But I think definitely he wanted to prove the point. It kind of reminded me like the Tennessee-Ohio State game. There's a lot of times when fans are all over either a player or a team because of their previous performance the week before, they usually come out strong, especially everybody was all over Jonathan Taylor for dropping the ball before he crossed the goal line. And I think certainly he was motivated by that. And I'm not saying this was the reason that we won or lost the game, guys, but I think one of the turning points, guys, this was a major turning point, was when we were up 7-0. We get the pick, and then we missed the field goal, and the Colts came right down and scored a touchdown. That's a huge turning point in the game. And the last thing, guys, and then I'll get off, and I kind of thought it was I chuckled because of the fact that one of the things, of course, that everybody's been talking about is whether or not Calvin Ridley is the number one receiver. He caught the touchdown pass for us to go up 7-0. And I know a lot of people around here said he's not a number one receiver. They don't believe he's number one receiver. But, of course, I don't know, and I'm sure you're watching the game, but the two announcers, I guess it was in the third or fourth quarter, were saying, yep, Calvin Ridley is definitely number one receiver. And I kind of got a chuckle out of that after everybody around here was saying they didn't think a number one receiver. And, make of that whatever you will. I'm not going to get into that, but just my thoughts on yesterday's game. Guys, y'all take care. Merry Christmas again to you. Take care, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric. And let's address that first question, Derek. And I
Yes.
believe Willie has joined us as well.
Yes, he has.
Hello, guys.
Hello,
Good to talk to
Willie.
you guys. Yes.
There are a lot of questions, of course, about the job security of Brian Callahan and Rand Carthon, Chad Brinker, and Brian Callahan was asked during his news conference about, you only have 2 games left to show some results. And those are certainly big games for him. And Willie, the point I was making to Derek before you joined us, and I would love your thoughts on this, is after everything that happened last week with the soft comments, the last thing the Titans needed to do was what they ended up doing yesterday, falling down 38-7, allowing a Titans record 335 yards on the ground, second most in franchise history when you include the Oilers in that as well. Just the timing of this performance could not have been worse for Brian Callahan after he stuck his neck out and defended his players last week.
Yeah, I was hoping for a little bit more inspired play. And I will give them credit for making a run at the end. And I just don't understand how they gave up about the easiest pitch and catch on a 3rd and 8, where I was thinking, I don't even think the Colts will pass here. I thought they would run. I didn't think they would have the guts to let Richardson, whose completion percentage is under 50%, even throw the ball. And if they get the ball back there, they have a legitimate chance with 3 timeouts to go down and see if they can pull a miraculous comeback. So the final result was better than it was going to look while we were all texting each other when it was 38-7 going, oh, man. After you sort of roll the dice and kind of back your team and say, guys, play for me. We got 3 games left. I got your back. I'm behind you. And then to see that, to get down 38-7, where there were moments where I was like, man, do I really see the fight in the battle level that I wanted to see here? That was concerning, to say the least. So I think the rally at the end did mask it a little bit. But I'd have to say, if I'm Brian Callahan, I walk out of there going, come on, guys. I had your back. Now, where are you guys? Even though with the injuries, it's not uncommon to see games like that. It's interesting to follow the teams that are going to be picking high and what are they bringing to the table in the final few weeks of the season. The Giants are complete. They have nothing that they're bringing to the table. They don't have a chance to win a game. I do feel like the Titans at least look like for parts of a game,
Yeah.
like a decent tough out for a while. And then something always happens to where you're like, wait a minute, what happened? They were like at the end of the first quarter, like Eric was saying, you're up 7-0. You get a stop, you get an interception, you're making another drive. At the end of the first quarter, you're like, hey, right in this thing. And the next thing you know, you're way behind. Like, what happens? I don't understand.
Well, you miss a field goal, and then they come down and score, and then you throw an interception. Then they score again, and then now the game is completely out of your hands. What I am,
don't you think Mason Rudolph?
Yeah,
he's costing himself a little money because he's showcasing. These are the things that the announcers were talking about. Like, you're playing for your job on this team or another team next year. So if you have a bad performance, like, you can't. It's costing you down the road in your career.
But I don't even think it was Mason Rudolph. I think Mason Rudolph, aside from the first interception, I don't know who he was throwing it to.
Yeah.
Maybe thought the receiver was coming in and sitting. I have no idea. But either way, that was a legitimate blown assignment by the quarterback. But beside that play, I think he did a damn good job. I don't think he was the problem. Because when that offense stayed on schedule, when they didn't get penalties, when they didn't do anything that was, detrimental to themselves, Mason Rudolph did a great job. The pass to Pollard should have caught that pass. That's no way, no how on Mason Rudolph. And then the one at the end of the game, any quarterback would have thrown that pass just to try to make a play. So if you look at Rudolph's play as a whole, Rudolph played winning football. The defensive line didn't play winning football. And when you allow a team to run the football like that, and then you have those mistakes, I put that first one on Mason Rudolph. But when you miss a field goal, they score, then you come right back with a minute or something left, and you throw an interception, you're not good enough to overcome all of that stuff. Even as good as Mason Rudolph played, aside from the one interception, because that's all I'm going to give him, one interception. But beside that one interception, and he played winning football, no one else played winning football around him, especially on the defense. And that's what Brian Callahan talked about in his presser. He said, listen, we play good on one side, then the other side don't play good. They play good, we don't play good. There's just no consistency across the board. And then you miss a field goal. I get it. He's a rookie kicker. But hell, that's his job. He got to make 56-yard field goals. He made one in preseason. You should be able to make this one indoors, no pressure, kick the football. It's not a game-winning field goal. So to me, when they do something good on one side, they end up imploding on the other side. And that's basically what happened yesterday.
But they're playing like most of the teams
they're just not
competing
good
for the first three slots. It is interesting to watch. Like, somebody had to win between the Raiders and the Jags. I was the guy that's crazy enough. I'm watching the Red Zone. And of course, it's fantasy playoffs. So I'm watching my fantasy teams, but I'm also keeping an eye on, okay, who's going to win this game? Because the Raiders winning, it's going to help move the Titans up maybe a notch. We're talking about maybe the third pick here, possibly, if it plays out a certain way, these next couple of games. And as we talked about with the Titans, they're going to play the Texans, who probably are going to be in a scenario where they don't really have any incentive to play people. They're probably going to take an opportunity to rest people. So this is going to be what it is for the next couple of weeks. And so this is what I'm wondering, Adam, going through Amy Adams' mind. You've got these games that are different than games of teams like even the Colts, who still mathematically are alive, right? That's different than teams that are out of it, trying to look at young guys. Like, how is Amy Adams viewing these games through her lens? What does she want to see as she tries to say, what changes do I want to make going forward? Do I want to take it down from the top, or am I going to be okay with this group going through an off season?
And that's a good question, which we will answer on the other side. 615-737-1025. By the way, an update from our favorite website, tankathon.com. We have an update. The Titans are slated to pick 4th in the NFL draft behind the Giants, Patriots, and Jaguars. The Titans could move up by losing to the Jaguars this week, but the Titans are slated to pick 4th in the latest odds according to our favorite website, tankathon.com. 615-737-1025. Hey, tune into 1025, 1063 The Game for the TransPerfect Music City Bowl on Monday, December 30th, 1 week from today. Chase and Big Joe will have pregame coverage starting at noon, and kickoff is set for 1:30. Music City Bowl coverage is presented by Hi-Fi Odds.
I would hope it bothered a lot. Hope it bothered everybody in his locker room. I mean, 3-12. I didn't expect this. Coming out of camp, feel like we had a great camp. I didn't expect this, and like I said, we fought. I would say that shows kind of like the fight in this team. And like I said, we at this point, it's like, what are we really playing for? And I said a couple weeks ago, right now it's like we playing for and we building for next year. If I see guys want to quit, I don't want to be a teammate. So the way we showed at the end of the game, the fight we had, we were down 20-some points, 30-some points, and being able to come back and down 8, having a chance. All we needed a third down stop. We almost had a chance to win that game. So it's tough, and like I said, these guys just got to keep fighting and finish these last 2 strong.
That was Tennessee Titans defensive end Jeffrey Simmons. After the game yesterday, Titans lose 38-30 to the Indianapolis Colts, their record dropping to 3-12. According to the Tennessean, the Titans are guaranteed to finish 3 consecutive seasons with worse records than the year before for the first time in franchise history. So from 7-10 to 6-11 to no more than 5-12. So for the first time in franchise history, 3 consecutive years of declining records. Willie Donick, Derek Mason,
that's
Adam
fairly
Bingen.
improbable, isn't it? Like that, I would have to think that is unusual. That would be the first time.
I would have to assume. I mean,
that doesn't seem like something that could never happen. Like other franchises, don't you think that would have happened somewhere, like a couple times, if you've been around for as long as they've been around? That's an interesting stat. I don't know what it really means, but like teams.
Well, they've gotten
worse.
They've gotten worse 3 years in a row.
Right,
When,
but they were a good team when this started. They were 7-3 and slipped to 7-10. So, but I don't know. Everybody's looking for ways to stick the knife in. I get it. Pinpointing.
There
every
are only
thing
so
people
many.
Say.
Well,
they're bad. They're not a good team. There's only so many ways you can say it. We can analyze it. They're not good. I get
there
it.
used to be a bit that Stephen Colbert would do. He wouldn't backstab. He would front stab. That's what's happening to the Tennessee Titans.
There is a lot
now.
of. That's
we're
a
not
good point.
That's
a good description of what's going on. There's a lot of
front stabbing. Yes. There's a lot of front stabbing. Hold still, front stab. That's what he used to say. So that's what's happening. There's a lot of front stabbing happening with the Tennessee Titans. But either way, let's talk about the question you presented, Willie, before the break. If you're Amy Adams Strunk and you're watching this, you're watching the Titans yesterday fall behind 38-7 to the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are running wild all over your defense. And you're sitting there. There are 2 games left. You're evaluating everything. Is there anything that Brian Callahan and this team, and by extension, Ran Carthon, because he's who put the team together, I mean, what does she need to see over these next 2 games to make her feel as if though Callahan and Carthon are the right people to move this process forward after such a disastrous season?
One, I think, she just needs to see them continuing to fight. If she knows anything about football, and I know she does, she will know that this roster is not good. That she will know that the team that is out on the field isn't a good team. She will know all the injuries that they've occurred over the last couple of weeks. She will know that, 2 of her inside linebackers went down. All she want to see, at least if I was her, is to see continued fight out there. If we win, great. That's just icing on cake if we win. But I want to see a team that's going to go out there and fight. The first half of that game, I didn't see too much of that. I saw a good first drive, and after that, I saw a bunch of mistakes and a bunch of missed tackles. But in the second half, I saw a team that continued to fight. However y'all want to frame it, or sort of put it together, This team continued to fight. I've seen teams that have been down that many points, and the lead just gets larger no matter what defense the opposing team is playing. This team continued to fight so much so that they had an opportunity at the end they have put themselves in a position to potentially win the game if they can get a third down stop, and they didn't do it. But what she did see in them, and many people may disagree with me, the hell with it. She saw fight in this team. This team continued to fight. No matter how you look at it, this team ended up scoring 20-something points and making it and putting themselves in a position. If they get a stop, they can go down and potentially tie the game. Would they have done it? I don't know. But at least they gave themselves a chance. Now, they dug themselves a deep hole, but that team continued to fight. They continued to play, because you don't come back from that deficit if you are not a team that's fighting. I'm telling you that from experience. You don't.
I do think there was a point, Adam, where if I'm Rand Carthon and I'm Brian Callahan and I'm just thinking of that question, how is Amy seeing this? When it's 38-7,
it's not good.
I'm thinking, oh boy, have my guys just laid down? What's going to happen? Are they going to score 50? That's the kind of thing that really has the front stabbing. You have not just one or two front stabbers. You got a lot of people.
Two on each side.
Right. So I would have been relieved if I'm those guys saying, okay, at least we kept playing. And we did make the people in the stadium a little bit nervous. That's better than losing 52-7 or something like that, right? And you have to see it. Now, let's look at it last year. The last game of the year, they ruined the Jaguars' season by playing a great game on the last day of the season. It was a great going-away party for Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill, and it was like the old hurrah. Hey, we got one more. That didn't affect their decision on Mike Vrabel at all. So I don't know what is going on in her head, but I just think, to me, if I'm the owner and I just made this big commitment to Brian Callahan, and I moved on from Mike Vrabel, who was pretty entrenched and a pretty big reputation around the league. That was a gutsy move, and to do a 180 and scrap the whole thing after 1 year of a coach and really 1+ year of a GM. That is not allowing any kind of foundation to be built. So it had to be pretty egregious for me to make changes. That's just me. That's not going to keep a lot of people from having an opinion that they're out on this group. But I just like the teams that are out of it right now and where the Titans are in the standings, usually about one, maybe two, play surprisingly well. Like yesterday it was the Panthers. And now the Titans will be picking maybe ahead of the Panthers, where I didn't think that was possible. But they pulled off a big win yesterday against a team that needed to win in the Cardinals. They were fighting for their season, and the Panthers beat them. The Titans really won't have a chance to play a game like that. They have another team like the Jaguars, or somebody has to get a win. And then the Texans, who are going to be looking at the playoffs and resting guys. So what can you really find about your team in those two games other than just play hard?
615-737-1025. We'll continue to take your thoughts on the Titans. They lose again, 38-30 to the Indianapolis Colts. A rough game for the Titans' run defense. We'll get back into that over the course of the program. Teron Davenport will join us at 1 o'clock. We'll get his thoughts on everything Titans as well. But coming up next, it is time for part 2 of our Silly Underdogs Bowl Draft. We picked our first 8 bowl games a couple of weeks ago. We will pick the remainder of our bowl games coming up next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Bingen, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
There's no need to fear. Underdog is here.
Emace, Finnegan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. It is time for Silly Underdog Picks, presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. Willie Donick, take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your commissioner speaking. Willie Donick here with you from Bridgestone Arena, Barrel House, Predators and Hurricanes tonight, the final contest before the Christmas break. But we have work to do with the Silly Underdog Picks presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. It's been a fine season, and we have uncharted territory. Well, it's been a fine season for one of the competitors, no question about it. Controversial as it may have been. And really, people, it is a race for second place when you get down to it. Chris Sanders has dominated, but we have an unprecedented second bowl draft because of the new college football playoff, which brings more games to the table. We were able to split up the bowl draft. Instead of picking 3 games, we picked 2 for the first segment of the bowls and the first round of the playoffs. And now another draft of 2 games, which includes the second round of the college football playoffs. That would be the quarterfinal games. So we bring to the microphone Chris Sanders, who has dominated. He has dominated the field so far this year. And I'm disappointed to report that Chase McCabe is a no-show for the final 2 picks. He's taken the day off, and he can't even spend 15 minutes with us to pick his last 2. He has delegated to David James. What do you think of that, Chris? Is that just waving the white flag or what?
He's waving the white flag. There's a song that I sing, Know When It's Over, and he's been singing that song since day 2.
Well, you did get out to a big lead. Since day 2, he's singing,
"Damn you!"
So there's some Ebenezer Scrooge going on for the rest of the panel as we pick these games. Adam and D-Mace, they're kind of down because they know they can't catch. But D-Mace, I think you're trying to get that competitive fire in your belly.
Still got it.
Because you want to at least get the silver medal. Right now, you and Chase are crowded on the bronze medal stand. You know, they have Chris is on the gold medal stand. Chris, you're high up there. Then right now, Adam is on the second place stand on the silver medal. And then Chase and D-Mace. Chase is a big guy. So there's not a lot of room on that stand. And so D-Mace is kind of balanced. He's in there.
I got the inside.
You got the inside. You're trying to give him that elbow to push him off. That's what it is.
They had to build an extension for the remainder of the bronze medals.
I'm still fighting.
Hey, Adam, congratulations, Adam.
I'm going to say thank you because I'm the only one who picked a winning bowl game the last time around. So I will gladly accept your congratulations.
So with that in mind, let's do a quick recap, and then we'll go over the order of picking for the bowl draft part 2. Remember, the underdogs must win outright. No points for a cover. Yeah, well, that's how it works.
You ain't first to last.
Adam had the first pick. He started in last place, so he had the first pick last week. He had Tennessee, a 7.5-point dog at Ohio State. It was annihilation. I was surprised, but the Buckeyes carved up the Vols from the start and sent thousands of Tennessee fans home very disappointed and cold and being harassed by the Buckeye fans. Which I do have to ask, like all the people on Vol Twitter, they were saying, we got treated so mean by the Buckeye fans. They were mean to us. Well, you came in there. You were like, it's an invasion, man. We're going to take over Columbus. We're going in there. You expected them to just roll out the red carpet and say, come on in, people. Have a great time in our stadium. Oh, come on in. Have a blast. Can I get you a hot chocolate?
See, that's what happens.
Yeah. They were mean to us on the way back to the car.
That's what happens when you go up north in the middle of December. That's what happens.
Absolutely.
They won the Midwest nice. That's all it was.
That was a beatdown from the start. Tennessee
got
whipped.
Chris, what are you laughing about? You've been excommunicated
Exactly.
from the Ohio
Chris,
State.
you can't take no credit in this, Chris. Stop it. You have been You have been John Wick, excommunicated.
You've been banished.
Benedict Arnold, Chris Sanders here over
Exactly.
Man, hey, man, where's the Christmas love? Hold up. Where's the Christmas love at? Why don't we say
here. It was gone once you picked Michigan.
Exactly.
Chris is like, I don't know what you're talking
I'm
about.
sending you a big old brick of coal, my friend.
So D-Mace had the second pick, and he selected another beatdown. He had Indiana, a 7.5-point dog at Notre Dame. Notre Dame set the tone from the start and never looked back. Indiana did score a couple touchdowns miraculously in the last 2 minutes to make it look a little closer than it was, but Notre Dame won very easily in that one. Chase had Tulane with his first pick, a 14-point dog against the Gators in the what's it called, the Gasparilla?
Gasparilla, yep.
I like that
man.
Gasparilla. The
I
Gasparilla.
think for a while, like Tulane wasn't going to score. They got destroyed by the Gators.
They got mollywopped.
They did.
What Chase didn't realize was that Tulane's starting quarterback, who played a big part in its success, transferred and did not play. He didn't realize
the transferring at this time of the year is madness. Like Ohio State put their backup quarterback in. He's in the portal.
Yeah, he's in the portal.
He's in the portal.
As Chase would say, let's move on.
Right. So there's a lot of strange things going on with the portal and who's in, who's out. That can definitely affect these games. Chris Sanders had 2 picks, and of course he's just playing for fun. He had SMU. Brackets out there to you guys. I was like, when Penn State was waiting for the last team to get announced who they were playing, I was like, who do you think James Franklin would rather see up there, SMU or Alabama?
Ooh.
It was SMU, and they whipped SMU.
But Penn State offense is horrible. Their offense scored 7 points, 10 points. The defense scored the other 21. Their offense is horrible.
Crazy.
They're horrible.
SMU did not have a happy trip to Happy Valley. Then Chris selected West Virginia. They did have a good chance against Memphis. That was a 4-point dog. David, you are the resident Memphis guy. Tell me about that game. 42-37. I didn't watch it, but it was a shootout.
I was so nervous just because like Memphis is just, they've been up and down this entire season. And it's just like when they were up, I was like, all right, here we go. And when Elijah Herring caught that interception and didn't go down and like almost lost it, my heart sank. And all of Memphis Twitter was just going bananas after that.
So West Virginia falls 42-37 to the Tigers, who ended up with what, David, 11 wins?
Yes.
11 wins on the year. Pretty good year from Memphis. Chase took Clemson with his second pick, 11-point dogs against Texas.
Ooh.
Clemson, of the 4, put up the best fight. They were way behind. They did cut it to 7.
Yeah.
And with plenty of time left, and then Texas responded with a big play to go back up by 2 touchdowns. So Clemson falls against the Longhorns. D-Mace had Western Kentucky, a 9.5-point dog against James Madison in the bowl game. 27-17, James Madison wins it. The Dukes knock off the Hilltoppers, so no dice for Derek there.
They didn't even cover.
They didn't even cover. And then Adam, with the final pick, scores the only points of the draft.
Big
Sam
Adam.
Houston State, a 6-point dog against Georgia Southern.
Yeah,
they
whatever.
win it 31-26. So, Adam, were you tuned
Go
in
Bearcats.
to the play-by-play over with Sam Houston?
No, he wasn't.
Do you know Sam?
And does he live in
I
Houston?
don't know Sam. I don't know Sam personally. I do know that it's Bearcats with a K, which I find to be interesting. Either way, go Bearcats. So I'm very happy for Sam
Adam,
Houston.
yay.
I did not watch a. Hey, you know what? I have so far. I am walking past Chris. I mean, I'm walking past Derek, walking past Chase, onto that silver medal stand, my friend.
That is correct.
Don't get
I'll
used
take
to
it.
it. Don't get used to it.
So for those who have
I'll
not
take
followed
it.
the competition, Chris has 5 wins on the year. He has
Wow.
79 points. He has 5 wins for 79 points. That gives you an idea how big the underdogs were in the 5 games. Huge performance by Chris Sanders. Now
Thank
in
you.
second place, Adam has 32 points and 4 wins. Chase and D-Mace have 29.5 each. And Chase, with this huge battle for second, chooses to delegate to David Jane. So, David, are you feeling the pressure here? I mean, this is big. A silver medal is nothing to sneeze at.
Chase mailed it in already.
Listen,
Chase
listen.
mailed it in. Yeah.
He's mailed it.
I am very nervous, but I have good faith in myself because I know ball. That's all I'm telling myself.
Okay.
I know ball. That's all I'm saying to myself.
I think if you get
David,
a
I
silver
am
medal for
speaking-
Chase, Adam, I nominate David for a raise from Chase McCabe. We're going to
I
put a
second
I was
petition
just
together.
about to say. I was just about to say that if David gets Chase to finish in second place, there should be a nice big fat Christmas bonus for
Yes.
David.
Oh,
I
yeah.
agree.
That's all I'm saying.
Listen, as a selfishly, I agree. You know,
Me too.
And now, knowing
And we
Chase
agree as
and
well. That's
knowing-
what happens when the boss. That's what happens when the boss skips
Right.
out on the competition.
Exactly.
Now, it could
Hey,
be the
D-Mace,
kind of
D-Mace.
bonus that it was in Christmas Vacation, right? The Jelly of the Month Club. You get the envelope. You think it's the big check for the bonus, and it's a membership to the Jelly of the Month Club.
that's
That
what's
could
gonna be my
be-
bonus.
that could
It's
be-
just-
Yeah, the month
That
club.
could be a underhanded thing. Chris, you had a comment.
No, I just want to say congratulations, D-Mace.
Can we move on? 'Cause we got to get to our picks.
Right.
We got to get to our picks.
Right. D-Mace turns the other cheek, and he
Yes.
does have the first pick in part
Oh.
2 because Adam, in moving to second, he does slide down in the draft order a little bit. So D-Mace will pick first and then last. Chase will pick second and 7th. So David, take note. Adam will have the 3rd pick and the 6th pick, and Chris will pick 4th and 5th. So D-Mace, get it started.
Go green, go white. Let's go. I'm still fighting. I am still fighting. Okay? Unlike Chase. This is who I'm going to pick. I am going, because I need the points. I'm going with Washington State over, I just had it. Who are they?
Syracuse.
Syracuse,
The Cuse.
yes. Washington State over Syracuse. Give me Washington State. I need the 16.5 points.
The Cougars of Washington State are a 16-point dog.
Let's
I don't
go.
know if there's been a
Dang it.
mass exodus. I believe there has. Isn't their quarterback a sought after guy in the portal right now? Do I have that right?
Uh-huh.
Anybody know that?
I believe so.
I was going to pick that.
So we'll have to see what they bring to the table. But hey, you never know. 16-point dog against Syracuse. I also think I've got this right, and I don't know if he's playing in the bowls. I have not studied up on the Holiday Bowl. But Syracuse's quarterback was Ohio State's quarterback last year. Isn't that
What?
right?
Correct. Yep.
What?
Kyle McCord.
Kyle
Kyle
McCord,
McCord,
yeah, who's had a really nice year. This is how crazy it is. Ohio State was a pretty good team last year. I could not remember who their quarterback was. Like, I knew that C.J. Stroud was there, and then I was like, who was their quarterback last year? I couldn't remember. I had to go look it up. And it's Kyle McCord who quarterbacks Syracuse. All right, so Washington State is the pick in the Holiday Bowl. And that brings us to Chase McCabe, who has delegated his pick to David James.
Behold the King of Kings. On your knees, dog.
All right, boys. So it was a tough decision to make here, just because, there's a lot of pressure on me to get the right pick for Chase. Not really.
Right.
Chase isn't putting any pressure on me, but I want Chase to have a winning record. I want Chase to win this, or at least get second place, not win this, because there's no chance for us to win. So I'm going Arkansas State over Bowling Green.
Arkansas State
7.5. The
Against
68
Bowling Green.
Ventures Bowl. That's what it says. The 68
Ventures Bowl.
Yes.
This will be played at Hancock Whitney Stadium in Mobile, Alabama.
Mobile,
Hey,
Alabama.
Mobile. I went to Mobile for the
Okay.
Senior Bowl.
The 68 Ventures Bowl.
I have a Mobile.
So now David said he knows ball. What do we know about Arkansas State? Do we know anything about them?
I know it's in Arkansas. That's
Okay.
about it.
You got you on that. Okay.
Arkansas is a state. That I do know.
That's sure. That's true. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Okay. So that pick is in the books. That brings us to Adam, who's trying to hold on to second place in the competition.
Alrighty then. I think that I am going to take a bit of a big swing myself, just to give myself some breathing room here. And now I just lost it. So let's see if I can find it. I am going to take, where did it go? I am going to take the Louisiana Ragin' Cajun. Over the Texas Christian Horned Frogs in the, is it Isleta New Mexico Bowl. I don't know how to pronounce that first word, but in the New Mexico Bowl, give me the Ragin' Cajuns over TCU, Louisiana plus 13.
Okay. This game will be played on Saturday for all that want to watch. It will start at 1:15 p.m. on ESPN. If you'd like to watch the New Mexico Bowl, Louisiana, the Ragin' Cajuns, 12.5-point dogs against TCU. All right, that brings us to Chris Sanders for 2 picks. He's like the guy in the Tour de France right now, you know, the leader on the last day. He's going to, the Champs-Élysées. You know, you're just kind of parading around for the fans, and it's inevitable that he's the champion. He's got the yellow jersey on. He's saluting the fans. He's just cruising on the bike right now to the finish line.
Yep. And lives in the tree.
Before we get that pick, Chris, make your first pick. We will go to break, and then we will get your other pick on the other side. So
keep
take your first pick here.
Appreciate it, Adam. Thanks.
One more time, D-Mates, you get to hear Lionel Richie.
We don't want to see you. I don't.
That's Lionel Richie with the Jerry curl, too. And he had on a white sweater. Didn't he have on a white sweater?
I just imagine Chris Sanders with a Jerry curl.
The video
right
also
now.
had the Jerry curl look.
Exactly.
The in look at the time.
And
He had a turtleneck tucked in.
Wasn't she blind?
She was blind, right? She was
Absolutely.
making a claymation
Yes,
of him in her mind.
absolutely.
This is how I see you. Is how the video did, right? Very touching.
Thanks.
Very touching.
Well, y'all gonna see this dub though.
We're making fun of Lionel. We're making fun of Sanders. All right, what do you got, Chris?
I'm just gonna rub this thing in. It is Duke over Mississippi State. No cheers?
Let's go to break.
Wait, I've got to find this game. Duke
doesn't exist.
Yes, it does.
It's Duke and Old Miss,
It's Ole
not
Miss. It's not
Mississippi
Mississippi
State.
State.
See,
He didn't get the right state. He didn't get the right school.
It doesn't exist.
I must have read it
This is
wrong.
what
Lionel
driving
Richie
everybody
was talking
crazy.
about
Mississippi
me.
State wasn't even good enough to make a bowl game. What is this?
Chris is
my-
just so far ahead of everybody else. He doesn't even pay attention to which team is playing in
It's
the
a
got
bowl.
school
Duke.
in Mississippi. That's all he knows.
That's it, exactly.
Okay, so I'm
Ole Miss.
presuming he'll take Duke, a
Absolutely.
15-point dog against Ole Miss
Absolutely.
in the Gator Bowl down in Jacksonville.
Duke is gonna win it.
And even I hope that Duke loses this game now, Chris, just so you know. Even I am hoping Duke loses this game. And that's a big
I messed
deal.
up twice in a row.
All right, let's take our quick timeout, and then we'll come out and make the final round of picks. Chris will have the first pick on the other side, then Adam, Chase, and D-Mace as we round out the Bowl Draft Part 2 of the Silly Underdog Picks presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket right here on 102.5 The Game.
Hey, this is Derek Mason here. Happy Monday. And also, Zen Sports has picked their winner for the grand prize in the month of November. They've picked their big game sweepstake winner to go to the big game in the NFL, the pros. But you know what? I'm sure if you didn't win that one, you thought they weren't going to run it back, but they are. But this time, they're running it back in the month of December with the big game sweepstakes college edition. You get a chance to go to the big game in the college football 2025 national championship, the big game for the college season tournament, people, with a grand prize of $10,000 cash and 2 tickets to the biggest college football game of 2025. Yes, the one south of us in the great city of Atlanta, and the ability to earn entries on every bet you place in December. It doesn't get much better than this. If you don't win the grand prize, don't worry about it. You'll also have a shot to win one of 10 small prizes which grants you $1,000 toward any college football game in 2025. So what are you waiting for? Head to zensports.com/sweepstakes for a full list of all the rules and earn a $100 no danger wager for your first bet. That's Zen Sports, where betting just got better. And remember, gambling problems, call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 years or older to bet here in Tennessee.
Emays, Fingan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. It's time for round two of our Silly Underdog Picks Bowl Draft, presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. And I forgot to mention in the first segment that we want your pick as well. We need someone to represent the people. Call us at 615-737-1025. You have to call 615-737-1025. If you pick a winner, you will go to see Gary Clark Jr. at the Ryman Auditorium on Friday, March 7th. You'll win a pair of tickets to that show. So call us 615-737-1025 and get your Silly Underdog pick ready for us. Willie, I turn it back over to you.
All right, let's go to the round two of the bowl draft, and we start with Chris Sanders.
I am going to go with UConn over UNC, +3.
I see. Okay. UConn is a 3-point dog taking on North Carolina, who I guess is not going to be coached by Bill Belichick. Will he be at the game? Like this will be the whole broadcast is going to be all about Bill Belichick, right? Taking over the program very shortly. But in the meantime, they're playing the Huskies, of UConn who are going to try to spoil the party. So UConn. So I guess Mac Jones is, or Mac Brown is going to be coaching his last game, right? Not Mac Jones.
I
the
believe
quarterback of
actually,
the,
I believe
Jaguars.
actually that Freddie Kitchens is going to be coaching.
Freddie Kitchens. The
Freddie
Kitchens.
is
Oh, wow.
The former
the
Alabama
Freddie
quarterback.
Kitchens.
Wow. That
And
is
the
interesting.
ill-fated coach of the Cleveland Browns.
Yes.
That guy has got some stories to tell. Freddie Kitchens, he's been everywhere.
Yes.
Hasn't he? Okay. So that's interesting.
I just want to
indeed.
point out, Chris, if you think you're getting back on my good side because you picked UConn to beat Carolina after you picked Duke to beat Ole Miss, you're gravely mistaken, my friend. I'm just letting you know that right now.
pals. I thought we were pals.
We'll be
Joke's on you,
pals.
Jack.
We will be pals after this competition is over.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Adam.
That game, by the way, is
Of
being
course.
played in Fenway Park. Fenway Park in Boston. All right. Adam Vingan has his final pick, trying to hold on to the silver medal.
Indeed, I'm going to take this down to beautiful Camping World Stadium in Orlando, Florida, where I will take the Fighting Illini of Illinois to defeat South Carolina in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, which is a very strange combination, Cheez-Its and citrus. Two things that don't go together. But I will take Illinois to upset South Carolina in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl.
Yes. Once upon a time, right down the road from my high school, Winter Park, I used to take the drive to the old Citrus Bowl every New Year's Day and watch. I believe I watched 7 consecutive Citrus Bowls live in person.
Was UT in all of them?
Hey, I didn't say that. That was D-Mace. I was not. I was not trying to take a pot shot at the Volunteers. Although
Derek
I did see
Mason
that
front
play
stabbing the
I did.
balls. Front stabbing the balls there.
That
Derek
was a
Mason.
front
A lot
stab.
of front stabbing on the show.
Hey, you can't spell citrus without UT.
Now I can't even find this game. What's the line on the game, Adam? I don't even know.
I have it as South Carolina minus 9.5.
What?
9.5.
All right,
Wow.
we got to double check that one.
Hold on. We do have to.
I
Are you
have
looking at
South
CBS
Carolina
Sports?
minus 9.5. I'm looking at. I usually look at ESPN.
Okay.
ESPN, but
Well,
usually the lines are not that much different.
yeah, but we got to find this.
Yeah, it is 9.5. He's right.
Even on CBS.
Yeah,
That's
well,
right.
I looked on the one Adam uses, which
South
which is the
Carolina
one
is a
that I use.
9.5 point dog against Illinois.
Their favorite.
No,
Illinois is a
Illinois.
9.5.
So you have
Illinois.
Illinois.
Is,
He has
Okay.
Illinois. Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
taking Illinois over South Carolina.
I was
thought about that
reminiscing.
game.
I was reminiscing about my days in the
Yes.
Citrus Bowl, and I got confused.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, snap back
Citrus.
into reality, Willie Don. Like there you go.
Cheez-Its and citrus. That's going to be a New Year's Day tradition for Adam. All right, let's move on to Chase McCabe.
All right, boys and girls.
And it's David James
yes.
taking the pick.
Exactly. So I'm going to go down to good old Alabama Birmingham Bowl, and I'm choosing Vandy. Give me the Commodores.
Okay.
All right. It is Vanderbilt, who has been a pick very often this year. They are a big theme of this underdog competition because they have won many times as not only an underdog, but a significant underdog. In fact, it's one of the big reasons that Chris Sanders has the lead he has in this competition. But this time, they're only a 2.5 point dog against Georgia Tech down in Birmingham. Diego Pavia will be playing, and he has been granted eligibility for next year. How about that?
yes.
That was big. That was
Ah.
big news. over
Anchor
the
down,
last week or
baby.
so.
Anchor down.
All right, so maybe some morale is up for Vanderbilt, knowing that their QB will be back next year. All right, D-Mace has the final pick, trying to vault up the standings
Yes.
with one last
All right.
shot.
I'm going with this pick. This is to win who will reign supreme in the state of Texas. This game will crown the best team in the state of Texas. I'm going to the Serve Pro First
Don't do
Responder Bowl.
Don't do it.
Okay? Gerald J. Ford Stadium in Dallas, Texas. I'm going with North Texas over Texas State. The battle of the state. Yes. Who's going to reign supreme in the state of Texas? The battle of who's going to be the best team in Texas. I'm going with North Texas.
The Mean Green.
13.5
North
point
Texas Mean
dogs.
Green.
They're 13.5 point dogs.
I can't even find this bowl game now.
I'm
What's my
telling
problem?
you, it's the Gerald
Did you
J.
make this
Ford
up?
Stadium. It's the Serve Pro First Responder Bowl.
So you're going
What
with
day of the
Do
week?
they
I'm
have
going with
both?
Tech-
They have
I'm going
stadiums on
with
both sides.
North Texas.
North Texas.
Because they're playing in
Oh, it's on Friday, January 3rd.
Yeah.
Friday, January 3rd.
Oh, that's my problem.
Not even a real bowl.
That is a real bowl. It's in January.
It's a January bowl game.
Exactly.
Hey, Texas State. And what's the line again?
North
Texas.
Texas.
The Mean Green is a
13
they're
and a
a
half.
13 and a half point
13 and a
underdog.
half. Ooh, that's more than I would have thought. All right. Wow, that's a big game.
Taking them.
On January 3rd,
Uh-huh.
you're going to be dialed into
Oh,
this
I'm
game.
watching this game.
Yeah, because this
Battle
could
of
get you in a
Texas.
second. It could be for the silver medal.
All the 5 stars are going to be in this one.
All right, before we get to the people's pick, and by the way,
Sure.
do we have a contestant ready to make the people's pick? Or do
Not
we
yet.
need to get them? All right,
We
so
need
hit the
one,
phone.
so call us.
Yeah, call them now. Let's see who's out there doing some last minute Christmas shopping, etc. 615-737-1027. You can add this as a stocking stuffer, to your all of the holiday cheer. And what's the prize again, Adam, if you win the people's pick?
A pair of tickets to see Gary Clark Jr. at the Ryman on Friday, March 7th.
And people, we usually do it, later in the week. We usually have
Yeah.
silly underdogs later in the week, but today, because of the holiday, we are doing it today.
Yeah. So
So
take a
if we
shot.
don't
Take
get
a
a
shot.
caller now, we will take a caller today.
And you can take a small underdog. That's what a lot of people have
Yes.
done. You don't have to take a big underdog. All right, so here are the picks for the bowl draft part 2. D. Mace, who right now is in a tie for third, trying to move up. He's got Washington State, a 16-point dog against Syracuse in the Holiday Bowl. Chase McCabe, who no-showed on the last day of picks. He delegates to David James, who, quote, knows ball.
Darn right.
Takes Arkansas State. He could not give us a really big rundown of Arkansas State's lineup, strengths, weaknesses, but he says they are in Arkansas, and it is a state.
That's all you need to know.
7.5-point dog against Bowling Green in the 68 Ventures Bowl.
And they wear helmets.
They do wear helmets.
Sometimes.
Adam Vingan selects Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns, a 12.5-point dog against TCU in the New Mexico Bowl. Then Chris Sanders, on his way to another title, selects Duke, a 15-point dog against Ole Miss, even though he did slightly confuse Ole Miss and Mississippi State.
Yeah.
But who cares? Actually, Nick Frazier's here. He probably does care.
Yeah,
he
he does
does
care.
love
Yeah.
Mississippi State. All right. That game is going on a little bit later in the Gator Bowl. Then Chris's second pick, he goes UConn by 3 over UNC at Fenway Park in the Fenway Park Bowl. Adam trying to secure second place. His second pick is Illinois, a 9.5-point dog against South Carolina in Orlando in the Citrus Bowl, the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl.
The Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. Thank
Yes,
you.
and so if Adam finishes second, I think a furthermore tradition on New Year's Day will be eat Cheez-Its and eat citrus on New Year's Day.
Together.
I think it's only fitting.
The best combo.
And have a UT hat on.
Then Chase took Vanderbilt through David James, 2.5-point dog against Georgia Tech in the Birmingham Bowl on December 27th. And D. May selects North Texas on January 3rd, a 13.5-point dog against Texas State. And what's the name of the bowl?
It's the Serve Pro.
The Serve Pro
First Responder Bowl.
We have 2 names. It just doesn't make sense.
Hey, man.
Wow, that's a long
If they want to.
name.
Are y'all there?
Hello?
I can't hear anything.
Yeah, we can't hear you guys. So Adam, just take over.
Okay, well, we are experiencing some technical difficulties. We will bring Willie and Derek back into the fold as soon as we can. I just have to say, I think Chris Sanders is here too. Hey, Chris.
Hey, the winner's here. And then the second place guy.
Chris, I guess
that's
it's
all that
just you and me
matters.
for the
The winner's here.
It's just you and me for the next couple of minutes. We've lost Derek and Willie, for the time being. As I said, Chris, you pulled on my heartstrings by picking Duke, and then you picked Carolina to lose. So I guess I can't be mad at you. I guess I can't be mad at you.
Hey, since it's Christmas, I'm going to cheer that you win second place.
Okay, I appreciate that. If Willie and Derek could hear that, I'm sure they wouldn't appreciate that, or Chase. But either way, we will get back. We will, Chris. Happy holidays.
You
Merry
too, my
Christmas,
friend.
my friend.
You
We
take
will
care.
talk to you soon. 615-737-1025. We will get these technical difficulties wrapped up. We're going to break. Adam Vingan here, 1025, 1063, The Game. This week's Nashville's best deal is from the Academy in Goodlettsville, more than just a training space. Here, every class is a journey into the art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu taught by the dedicated instructors. They have a state-of-the-art facility that offers everything from muscle recovery services to top-tier training equipment. Go to theGameNashville.com/deals and get a $150 month of unlimited classes for just $75. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Bingen here. Let's just make sure we have Willie Donick and Derek Mason here.
Check 1, 2,
3, 4.
All right.
Check it down.
5,
We
6.
are
We
are
it's
back.
Christmas time in Nashville. Can you hear me?
I can indeed.
Adam?
The magic of live
Adam,
radio. Every
can you
now
hear
and
me?
then.
I said, I guess we cut
We
off.
lost it again?
Yeah, we lost it again.
Now we can't hear Adam.
Now we can't hear. Are we?
I think we're off.
Are we
no,
off?
no, you're on.
Can you hear me now? They can't hear me.
Okay. Are we on Smashville?
I can't. David, you do it. All right. I'm sorry. Technical difficulties on my end. Let's talk college football playoff. None of the games over the weekend were particularly close. Notre Dame beats Indiana 27-17. Texas beats Clemson 38-24. Penn State beats SMU 38-10. Ohio State beats Tennessee, of course, 42-17. And this was Kirk Herbstreit when asked by Linda Cohn on SportsCenter about what he hopes the College Football Committee will take away from the first round of this year's playoffs.
I think we just got to.
First round is now complete. All home teams won. They not only won, but they won by double digits. What is your biggest takeaway from this first weekend of the 12-team playoff?
That I hope next year the committee won't get caught up in what the social media and a lot of people who are fringe fans get caught up in, which is wins. They had 11 wins. They must be good. Who did they beat? I think is much more important than how many wins you have. That's old school way of approaching it. Has Indiana having 11 wins and beating nobody. That doesn't mean they're one of the 12 best teams. Remember, I know, Linda, I'm not taking this out on you, but there's a big difference between deserving and best.
Yeah.
What this is all about is giving us the best 12 teams. Now, it's subjective. How you want to figure out the best 12 is up to you. But that's what I want to see. I don't want to hear about wins. How many wins? Winning's obviously important, but just because you have 11 wins doesn't mean you're better than a team that maybe had a tougher road that had 9 wins. So I think we get too caught up in how many wins you have. It's really more about who are the best 12 teams, and we need to get the best 12 teams in this tournament every year.
That was Kirk Herbstreit discussing the state of the college football playoff out of the first round. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts on that?
Should we Zoom?
This is D. Mace, Vingen, and Donick. We have some technical difficulties. We'll be right back. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingen, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
first round is now complete. All home teams won. They not only won, but they won by double digits. What is your biggest takeaway from this first weekend of the 12-team playoff?
That I hope next year the committee won't get caught up in what the social media and a lot of people who are fringe fans get caught up in, which is wins. They had 11 wins. They must be good. Who did they beat? I think is much more important than how many wins you have. That's old school way of approaching it. Has Indiana having 11 wins and beating nobody. That doesn't mean they're one of the 12 best teams. Remember, I know, Linda, I'm not taking this out on you, but there's a big difference between deserving and best.
Yeah.
What this is all about is giving us the best 12 teams. Now, it's subjective. How you want to figure out the best 12 is up to you. But that's what I want to see. I don't want to hear about wins. How many winning's obviously important, but just because you have 11 wins doesn't mean you're better than a team that maybe had a tougher road that had 9 wins. So I think we get too caught up in how many wins you have. It's really more about who are the best 12 teams, and we need to get the best 12 teams in this tournament every year.
It's a
That was Kirk Herbstreit of ESPN discussing the first round of the college football playoff. Adam Bingen, Willie Donick, Derek Mason here with you. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts on what Kirk Herbstreit had to say?
You know, I heard that, and I was comparing it, at least in my mind. I don't have the recording of it, but he was much stronger in that opinion than he was on the day they announced the brackets themselves. Nick Saban was saying this from the start. Nick Saban came out very strong before they announced the brackets that he felt like strength of schedule was being undersold. My point is the basketball has gone with strength of schedule for decades. That has always been what the committee did. And for whatever reason, this committee seemed to lean much more towards the traditional one loss. Hey, you only got one loss. Hey, you only got 2 losses. And so I agree with Kirk Herbstreit. I just was wondering why he came out so strong after the fact and not before the brackets were announced, where he was much more riding the fence. And I thought Nick Saban was kind of on his own making this argument, and he put himself out there. I agreed 100% with Nick Saban for all the reasons he said, even though you could probably view that as he was angling for Alabama to get in. But I really think he believes that. He has always believed that, that you should value strength of schedule and get the best teams in. And that would fall in line with how the tournament selection committee does their job in basketball and even in the other sports like baseball. They talk about strength of schedule all the time.
Yeah, they do. What I don't understand is this. Is he just saying that because Indiana lost in the fashion that they did? Is that why he's bringing it up? Because it's
right. That's why it's more hollow to me. Is you wait until the 4 teams get blown out, and then you go out and say.
But he just pointed out Indiana. Tennessee got mollywopped too. Clemson basically got mollywopped, even though they made it a game toward the latter part. SMU got mollywopped. So why did he only bring up Indiana? I think because that's been a whole talking point for the last 3 weeks is just Indiana. Indiana doesn't deserve to be in. Indiana doesn't deserve to be in. Indiana did deserve to be in. They won the games that were on their schedule. They lost one of them during the regular season. They won every other game on their schedule. And then he says it shouldn't go to the most deserving team anymore. Well, who should it go to? I thought that's what sports was about.
It's a different definition of
No. I thought that's what sports was about. You play your schedule, and the most deserving teams get in. If that's the case, Tennessee didn't deserve to get in because they got mollywopped.
But they played a tougher schedule.
It doesn't matter what one may deem as tougher schedule than not. The end results were they went and got their tails beat up north by Ohio State. SMU got their tails beat. Clemson basically for 3 quarters got their tails beat. So do you believe those teams were deserving to be in? I'm pretty sure he would say yes, because the only team he brought up was Indiana. Listen, Indiana won the games that were on their schedule, okay? They ran into 2 very good teams, 2 of the top teams in the country. Y'all act like Indiana lost versus a 21st ranked team, both of their games. They lost to a good Michigan team, even though I hate Michigan. Michigan is a solid team. They lost to no, they beat Michigan. They lost to Ohio State, who was the number 1 team in the country, I believe, or the number 2 team in the
but
country.
the fact is they didn't beat a top 25 team. They didn't beat them.
I understand, but they beat everybody else on their schedule.
Yes, they did.
And they lost to 2 top-ranked teams. 2.
Yes, they did.
You're talking about top 5 teams. UT lost to 3 teams.
This is the
Or
nuance.
4, 3.
This
End
is
up
the
losing to 3
nuance
teams.
part of the discussion. Is the teams in the Big Ten and the big conferences that now have 16 teams. They can't control you can't play everybody in your league. You're only going to play half the teams in your league. So on a given year, it's not really Indiana's fault that they didn't play more of the top teams in the Big Ten in the regular season. Like they didn't play Penn State. That's not their fault. That's just how the league schedule went. So that's the problem, Adam. It's different for other teams. But Nick Saban's point, as he makes every year, it's not they just made it this year out of nowhere. He's been making it every year. Why are we incentivizing teams to go play somebody outside of your league to strengthen your schedule if it's not going to help you in situations like this?
But every team
Indiana
does
didn't play
it.
anybody.
But every team does it. Every team outside of their schedule, outside of their conference. Am I lying? If I'm lying, please, one of y'all tell me. Adam, you, Willie. If I am lying, every team in the country does this in regards to their out-of-conference schedule. Majority of the teams, they schedule cupcakes. Now, they may have a tough team in there.
At
in
least
between.
one. That's the sort of the rule of thumb is you go get one, like Georgia played Clemson early in the season.
But for the
I'm
most
trying to
part,
think,
after
Alabama
that,
went to Wisconsin. That, at least on paper, is a tougher matchup. Most years, when you schedule that, you think, okay, that's going to be a good non-conference win if we can get it. Go on the road and beat Wisconsin, which is a tough place to play. You know if you're Boise State, you got to go get one. They played Oregon, but SMU and Indiana really didn't have that game on their schedule. So that was another knock on them, Adam. Am I right that they didn't have even one of those where they could show the committee, hey, we can't help it if that's our ACC schedule. But here we went and played so-and-so and we beat them. They didn't have that. And so they were granted access into this tournament as at-larges without beating a top 25 team during the season. That's the flaw in a lot of people's minds.
615
I just was surprised that Herb Street went out so strong with this after the fact when he could have done that the day of the brackets. He didn't really do it.
But all of this is based on what Indiana did. That's how everybody's causing
And
such a
SMU.
fuss.
And SMU.
No, it's really Indiana that they got in. Nobody's complaining really about SMU.
Oh,
nor
Alabama's
Clemson.
complaining about SMU.
Alabama, yes, but not as a whole. Alabama isn't the whole as much as we may think.
We do have to table this conversation for now. 615-737-1025. Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, will join us coming up next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025, 106. The Game. D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingen here with you, joined on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, by ESPN, NFL Nation, Titans reporter, Teron Davenport. TD, the story of the game yesterday and the loss of the Colts was the poor rushing defense by the Tennessee Titans. They allowed 335 yards on the ground, second most in Titans/Oilers history, most in Titans history. Where do we even begin with what happened on the ground for the Titans run defense yesterday? David, I don't hear Teron.
I don't think we're hearing Teron,
I don't
Adam.
think Teron is on, Adam.
Can you still hear us,
You got
Adam?
me now?
Yeah,
oh,
there
we got
go.
you, Teron.
Yeah, got you,
Okay.
Teron. There you
I
are.
thought we had
Hi,
dropped
Teron.
again. We're
Yes.
having all kinds of issues today. I don't know I don't know if Buddy the Elf and his people are coming in and just messing around here at
Somebody
Bridgestone Arena
sabotaging
or
us,
what. We
man.
were worried, but TD is here. All right, TD, go ahead.
Man, I know we're
Yeah,
the best
bad,
show
bad
around.
Santa, man.
Goodness.
Yeah,
They
but
try-
no,
hey,
bad
brother,
sense.
they're trying to take us out at every cost, fellas. Man, they're trying to hold us down, man. Goodness.
Exactly.
Hey.
Well, I mean, you asked it, and the big deal was that it was a failure just on each level of the defense. And I think Jonathan Taylor, his 65-yard touchdown showed it, right? You had Jeffrey Simmons, he was able to shed the block, but he didn't flatten, and his angle wasn't right, and Jonathan Taylor was able to, get beyond the line of scrimmage or get another 2 or 3 yards, and then the linebackers were blocked up really well, and Amani Hooker came up, and he was in position to make the tackle, but Taylor gave him a move, and, it was kind of like, remember that old game Pitfall when the guy gets in the sand? That's what happened on that one, and Taylor was gone. And I think, when you are having trouble with that gap scheme and guys are getting moved out the gaps or the gaps are changing and the linebackers have to come up and fit, and that's not happening, and then the safeties aren't making plays in the open field, this is the result. So it was definitely disappointing, according to Brian Callahan, and I'm sure to every Titans fan. So it just kind of is what it is.
Teron, did you see the quote from Mo Ali Cox after the game yesterday?
Yeah, I don't know that I believe that. I mean, I didn't really put much in that. I saw the quote. I don't think that happened.
Okay, so just for everybody who didn't hear it, because I referenced it, I do want to read it now. He was quoted as saying after the game, it's hilarious because we went out there one time and they were like, oh, it's a screen. And then one of the defensive ends was like, man, they're about to give it to Jonathan Taylor. He's about to run for 300 on us. Once he said that, it was like, yeah, we got him. They don't even want to be out there no more. So you don't necessarily, I mean, he did say it, but I haven't been able to hear it. But either way, if it is true that he said it, it is an indictment on the Titans, I suppose.
Yeah, listen, because I think we lost TD. That's what I'm concerned about.
I'm here. I don't know why it keeps going in and out. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Yes.
CD.
Yeah. I mean, it is an indictment, but I just find it hard to believe a guy would be out there and say, "Oh, they're about to run for 300 on us." Like, I just find that hard to believe. I don't know. I can't.
Especially like you're trying to picture what this is like in the you're at the line of scrimmage. You're really listening that much. You could hear that much of a conversation. That sounds like a long conversation. I don't know. That is to me quite hard to believe.
Yeah, it is. It's so hard to believe. I'd rather talk about something else.
Yeah.
Well, TD, what sense did you get from those guys in the locker room or on the defensive end? Because Jeffrey Simmons came out and he spoke definitively about, listen, if guys are sort of mailing it in or giving those comments on the field, I don't want them a part of this team. And he's right, because the remainder of his game is going to be a true test of who's willing to play and gut it out, and who's willing not to, who's going to lay it down. And Jeffrey Simmons was right about that. So what sense did you get from those defensive guys, that front at least, when you talked to them after the game?
Well, I got the sense of frustration, obviously, but it just it seemed a little bit defensive, to be honest with me, especially like with Simmons. How he was saying, well, you look at the box score, you're going to say it's the D-line's fault, but we got to do this at the second level, and and it's just like, you're right, but all of the guys got the same jersey on. You know what I mean? Same uniform. As a group, you guys all have to. It shouldn't matter if somebody points to the defensive line or they're pointing to the safeties or the line. 300 plus yards rushing. Like, there's nothing to even deflect. Like, the blame is on the whole unit. So, I mean, to me, like, I got that sense of frustration from them. But I do like what Jeffrey Simmons said in regards to the guys playing, and he doesn't want them on the team if they're quitting. And I agree with that, because this time of the year, these last two games, like, this shows you who's really about it. This as far as, like, who takes pride in what it is that they're putting out there. Because right now, I mean, as Simmons said before, you're playing for your name, and also you're putting a product out there for either a bigger deal with the Titans or a deal somewhere else. And that's what it boils down to.
We'll talk with Teron Davenport discussing the Tennessee Titans loss to the Indianapolis Colts yesterday, 30-38. Now, listen, this team made a valiant effort the last quarter and a half to put themselves in a position to potentially get the ball back with over a minute left and try to win the game. But on 3rd and 8, they give up the easiest 3rd and 8 out that I've ever seen. Did you talk or did R. Wilson say anything about that last play, about the coverage? Because to me, it's 3rd and 8. Your corners are already off 6 yards. That shouldn't be the case. So what was his explanation based upon that last play? Or did he give one?
Yeah, we haven't gotten we'll talk about that on Thursday. But it was confusing to me because, like, you look at it right off the bat, like, Browning was playing at the sticks. So it's like, okay, all right, I get it. You're going to put your heels on the sticks right there, and nothing is getting past you. But the problem was when the ball was snapped, he bailed out even further. So it was kind of like that old Shane Bowen look, where it'd be 3rd and 6, and they're playing 12 yards off the ball, and it's just quick and easy stealing. I haven't asked about that because we didn't get the opportunity, but that's definitely something to look at because I tell you what, a stop right there, hey, it might be a different ball game, and that's the type of thing that you can't have, and it's why this team is 3-12.
We're talking to Teron Davenport. So, Teron, as you're trying to evaluate big picture, I know one of the reasons they made the quarterback change is they wanted to have a reference point. Okay, let's take a look at this offense with more of a veteran quarterback and evaluate the rest of the offense. What do you think we learned in the game with Rudolph quarterbacking? And I realize you have to sort of put it in perspective both weeks where they were pretty far behind when they started to have the most production against the Bengals and against the Colts. But still, what did you think the offense looked like in comparison with Rudolph back there?
Yeah, the one thing is more efficient. That's really the one thing. And Brian Callahan pointed to it. He said he was able to get the ball out his hands and find places to go with it. And that's why he was only sacked once, and the one sack, obviously, he probably could have stepped up better, and Nicholas Petit-Frere could have given a better effort, right? I had posted that, that Petit-Frere got smoked by Kwity Paye, and everybody was like, oh, shut up, okay? Because he did get smoked by Kwity Paye, and Brian Callahan actually said that was the final straw that made them go from MPF to John Ojukwu. So, he could have stepped up as well in the pocket. But I think overall, you look at this, right? The offense is more efficient. They've been sacked 7 times with Rudolph, under center. They've given up 40 sacks with Levis under center. And the difference is only 5 games. So that tells you right there.
I think that is what I was thinking. As much as everything that you say is true, I wonder what Bill Callahan and all of the offensive linemen do think privately nobody's going to hang Will Levis out to dry, but the offensive line has been ridiculed for the amount of sacks they've given up. But to me, the more Rudolph plays, the more you see it. And it's not just the number of sacks, it's the percentage of times on the dropbacks that he's getting sacked. The offensive line numbers would probably look a lot better for the season. I don't know how many more wins they would have, but you wouldn't be getting this, gosh, the offensive line is so awful, when it's pretty simple. Rudolph gets rid of the ball. That saves a lot of sacks. It's a huge difference.
Yeah, exactly. It's a huge difference. And, you're seeing yourself in less third and longs, et cetera. So, absolutely.
How would you evaluate Tyjae Spears? This is a guy to me that these are the things that I'm looking for, is like you're looking for rays of hope. Spears now has 4 touchdowns in the last 2 games. And some of them are sort of garbage time and some of them are short yardage. But I'm looking for that confidence. Hopefully he's healthy. I'm hoping he can play well down the stretch, that at least it gives you a place and a vision of where he could fit. And specifically, Teron, when they get him the ball in space, the first guy never gets him. I see so many plays where he's got 5 guys coming at him. I'd love to see him a little bit more getting the ball in space.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to get him the ball. You just want to get the ball in his hands and let him do some things with it. And the 4 touchdowns, it shows. And, look, this dude runs hard. And I like that tandem that they got, because Tony Pollard runs hard, too. You saw when he trucked that safety. Having those 2 guys as a tandem, I think it can wear down teams. And Spears is showing, when healthy, he could be a playmaker. And I really like what he's been able to do.
Teron, you mentioned Pollard, and I know he's banged up right now. If you look at his season, now he's over 1,000 yards. I think as a runner, he's been pretty solid. He's been about what they hoped he would be. As a pass catcher, his efficiency numbers really are not what they were a couple years ago. Why do you think he hasn't been as effective as a receiver this year? Like the one yesterday, it's an interception because he just doesn't catch the ball.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other plays too where he's not getting as many yards and things that you would think he's capable of as a pass catcher, because he used to be really good in that role in Dallas.
Yeah, and Pollard, he played receiver some at Memphis. So I'm not sure exactly what that was. I think that ball kind of got on him a little quick, and it bounced off his hand. You still got to catch it. Don't get me wrong. And again, this is explaining, not defending, right? You got to catch it. But I think that ball got on him quick and ended up being intercepted. I don't know why he hasn't had the impact as a pass catcher as you would think, and as what we saw in training camp as far as how they plan to use him, because they're running a lot of empty with him lining up over top of the numbers and trying to take advantage there, and it hasn't happened as much.
TD, this team, I understand, and everybody saw what happened, with Indianapolis being able to impose their will on the Tennessee Titans running the football. The Titans were without their starting linebackers. Gray, you throw Gray and you throw James Williams in there. They just don't have, one, the experience nor the beef. Because what you have essentially is those big guys taking on blockers, and on linebackers are supposed to scrape and make tackles. And for most of the game, they just didn't do it. And in talking with those guys, what were their explanations on that second level not being as efficient tackling the ball as we expect them to be?
Yeah, look, guys definitely have to fit things up better from the second level. Now, Cedric Gray, he said that, they had to make adjustments, but he felt that it got better once he got in the game, and it actually, you didn't see those explosive runs, as much. He came in a little bit after, that 70-yard run that Taylor had in the second half. I think the main thing is, again, being able to take on those blocks, but also, the timing and coming up and fitting things up correctly. And they're young, right? And they still have to learn the angles and how to do that. They did make some plays. Cedric Gray has 6 tackles. There was the one time where he got in, he had to stop at the line of scrimmage, and then he and James Williams, they tackled Anthony Richardson on a 3rd down to force a field goal. So, they did have some effectiveness. It's definitely something to watch going forward. Kenneth Murray Jr. is probably going to be done for the year, to be honest with you. I saw him in the locker room afterward, and he had a big ice bag, and he had a glove on the wrist. I don't think he's going to play the rest of the year, honestly.
Ron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, joining us as he does every Monday. Teron, thank you as always for your time. I hope you and your family have a happy holiday.
Thanks, for sure, man. I hope you guys do as well, and everybody listening.
Merry Christmas, my brother.
All right, TD.
All right, Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, joining us. We will react to what Teron had to say and more at 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025-1063. The Game.
All right, let's talk F&M Bank. Man, I'm kicking myself for making 4 picks instead of 3. I got lured in, as they say in Bull Durham. I got lured. Man, we have so much fun on that segment. Friday afternoons at 1:45, thanks to F&M Bank. 20 locations in our listening area. In fact, I was talking to my buddy Steve Gorman, who hailed from Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and that is where his family is from. F&M Bank has a location up there. That is really what they're all about. They are in your town. They're right in the middle of your community, and they want to start up a relationship with you, and they want to make your financial life easier. Banking made easy on purpose. That's their motto. Just go to their website and find the nearest location to you. myfmbank.com. That's myfmbank.com. 6 locations in Clarksville alone. So we'll take it to the bank on Friday at 1:45 for the latest chapter in Willie getting lured and losing in the competition. This is not good. myfmbank.com. It's F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
It's turned into a mudslide. Do you guys feel like it seems like we live and die with little
Mace, Vingen, and Donick, 102.5, 106. Oop, I interrupted. Like, how could I interrupt? I don't hear Derek singing.
Hey, I'm just listening, man. Sometimes you just gotta listen to Mariah.
This is for you,
know?
D-Mace. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, you just gotta let it marinate.
We'll give it another second just for Derek.
It's the 23rd. We got to blow it out here today. We'll be post Christmas next time we're on.
Man,
There we
boy, I
go.
tell you, boy.
D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 the game. All right, as Willie said, it's our last show before Christmas, so we have to blow it
let that
all out.
marinate. Yeah, let that marinate, man.
Technical difficulties and all. We will get through it just for you.
We don't quit.
So let's talk. We do not quit. Let's talk about the Titans quarterback situation. So Mason Rudolph comes into the game yesterday. His final line, 23 of 34 for 252 yards. I'm sorry. 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Now, the most egregious of those interceptions was the first one, to which one of the broadcasters, it might have been Ross Tucker, said, "That looks like Will Levis." That's
that
why
was
they took
Ross
Will
Tucker,
Levis.
yes.
Yes, that's why they took Will Levis out. But Mason Rudolph got off to a good start. Titans were up. Calvin Ridley had a long touchdown. You know, the offense was on schedule, as Derek likes to say. I use the term competent to describe Mason Rudolph, and that's what I thought we were seeing from him. No egregious errors. Of course, we did get one eventually. But the question was asked yesterday and again today about the quarterback for Sunday's game against Jacksonville. And Brian Callahan has been, he has maintained the same response. It's a week-to-week thing. But is there a world, in your opinion, Derek and Willie, if Mason Rudolph is healthy, even if he did not have his best performance yesterday, can they go back to Will Levis? Once they've made the decision to bench Will Levis, is there any way, barring injury, that the Titans can go back to Will Levis without looking like they have even more egg on their face?
I think it would just be a very bizarre look around the league if they did an about face and went back to Levis.
You look like Indianapolis.
Yeah, and even watching Richardson, they almost are running, and it's giving them a chance to win a few games. They threw the ball 11 times, right? It worked out well because they were ahead and could dictate. They didn't have to throw it, and they got 2 huge runs for touchdowns, which made their day very, very easy. But when you watch Richardson, he's a very good runner, but they don't like to throw. And he had the one really bad pick. You're like, what is going on with that throw? So I think they have to bring him along slowly. He can run his way out of trouble, which Levis cannot. I just think it would be a strange look to go back to Levis at this point, because as we all agree, the offense looks like it's running the way they want to run it. And the sacks is the biggest thing for me, the biggest difference. It's giving the offensive line a chance to have some success. This is not a great offensive line. It's a mess. They even switched midway through midstream and reconstructed the other half of their line. And that was in a game where they gave up 1 sack. But at least they can run the offense.
Yeah, well, that showed me that the head coach is still in it. He wants to win football games. When you see him switch the whole right side of the offensive line, that shows you, hey, listen, I'm in it. Are y'all in it? Because I'm still trying to win this football game. I'm still trying to put y'all in the best position to win games. So first and foremost, we can say the coach is still in this to win it. Now, in regards to Mason Rudolph, I think Mason Rudolph played winning football. I really do. I do believe that. Outside of the first interception, that was pretty much his only egregious throw. I know people are going to say, well, he threw it. No, Pollard should have caught that football. That should have been catching. Then the last one is like an open netter. It's like,
right. Empty net goal.
Exactly,
Like,
empty netter. Yeah, it's just like, man, I'm just trying to make a play at the end of the game and and whatnot. So I don't count that against them.
I don't even know why he threw it.
Yeah.
Like
But he's just,
they
yeah.
had no chance.
Exactly.
Like, why would you do that? Like, you hurt your own stats.
But
on that.
he doesn't. I mean, you got to understand, he doesn't care about the stat.
Yeah.
He's just trying to get the ball into the end zone. So I look at it from this standpoint. Mason Rudolph still gives you the best opportunity to win. I think if you go back to Will Levis, I think you're conceding that no, we're not going to win. We rather just play these remainder 2 games out, throw Will Levis back there and let it be what it is. But I'm not sure. I believe Callahan's not going to do that. I think he wants to win the remainder of these 2 games. And he wants to see, because y'all got to understand, this is a offensive coach. This is a former offensive coordinator with his former team, the Cincinnati Bengals. Now he's a head coach / offensive coordinator. He wants his offense to look as efficient as possible. He had to be pulling his hair out whenever Will Levis was underneath center, when he couldn't get the offense to run efficiently. And then all of a sudden you throw Mason Rudolph in there. And is Mason Rudolph great? No. But what Mason Rudolph gives you, he gives you an opportunity for your offense to look a certain way. He gives you an opportunity for you to stay on schedule most of the time. He doesn't take the sacks that Will Levis take, even behind the same offensive line. So when you ask the question whether he should go back to Will Levis or not, the answer is no. He shouldn't go back to Will Levis. If you want to get the most out of your team, especially with the depleted guys that you have on defense and some on offense, you stick with the guy that allows your offense to run efficiently, and that's Mason Rudolph.
My question for both of you is, because I agree with Derek that at times when Mason Rudolph isn't making a Will Levis-like mistake, the Titans offense, it's not the greatest show on turf by any stretch of the imagination, but it seems to run a bit smoother, as we've been saying. Does that suggest to you that if they can find a quarterback who's better than Mason Rudolph and doesn't make the egregious errors of Will Levis, that maybe not all hope is lost with this team? Or am I oversimplifying it by saying that?
I think you're right on. I think that's what you're selling if you're Brian Callahan at this point is, okay, we've got decisions to make on who the next quarterback is going to be. We have the data now on Will Levis of what he is. For better or worse, this is what he is. Let's decide where to go from here after the season. Here's Mason Rudolph. We got to decide on him. He's not the greatest. He's got big limitations, but this is how the offense can look. We have some pieces on offense. That's why I ask about guys like Tajay Spears. That's why I always want to keep checking on the progress of Skoronski and Latham, how they're grading out in the eyes of Bill Callahan. I see Chikakonkwo getting a little bit more confident, finding a little more. He's getting a lot of passes thrown his way. I don't know what that means for his future. Ridley looks like he's finding his niche. He's got a nice, decent little rapport, I think, with Rudolph. You see Nick Westbrook-Akine did the Nick Westbrook-Akine thing yesterday.
Touchdowns.
Spears scores too. So these are all things that I'm selling if I'm Brian Callahan. Hey, look, we're going to have a high first-round pick. We can add a little bit more. Maybe we have a couple less holes next year. With an average quarterback, I think we can make big strides next year on offense. That's what I'm selling. And to do that, I think you want to look at the offense the last couple of weeks with a quarterback who has a little more idea of how the offense is supposed to run.
This is a efficient type of offense. This is a rhythm offense. That's just what this is. And when you don't have a quarterback that can throw on rhythm or throw on time, you end up getting what you got from the Titans when Will Levis was underneath center. Yeah, you're going to get some wild plays down the field. You're going to get those plays. Why? Because Will Levis has a strong arm, and you got a guy that can flat out run in Calvin Ridley. So you're going to get some of those wild plays as we saw. But the everyday plays, the plays that nobody really thinks about, those are the plays you're not getting from Will Levis. The consistent, just take that, just move it down the field. I sound like Puff Daddy. Take that. But no, moving down the field, and allowing your offense to gain rhythm. This is a rhythm-based offense. When your offense can't gain rhythm because of your quarterback, you're going to be in for a long day. And what hurts, it also hurts your running game as well. So it's good that they have at least a guy underneath center that can keep you on task, that can keep you on rhythm. Will Levis isn't that guy. And what Brian Callahan hopefully is showing or can show to Amy is if we get a quarterback that is better than Mason Rudolph, he can be a little bit better than Mason Rudolph, this offense will look like a much different offense from a flow standpoint. When Will Levis in there, just like I said last week, the team took on the characteristics of their quarterback. They were up and down. When you put Mason Rudolph in there, they take on that characteristic. They are a rhythm offense. They stay in rhythm. Once they get there, it's kind of hard to get them out unless you get a penalty. And that's what happened to the Tennessee Titans, whether it be penalties or missed blocks. That puts them behind the sticks, and now they have to work even harder to try to get a first down. And they're just not equipped to go into a situation 1st and 20 and expect to pick up a first down. This team isn't that good. Or 2nd and 20. This team isn't that good. They got to stay on schedule.
Caleb on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says this team is probably 7 or 8 wins better right now with a better quarterback, or has 7 or 8 wins, I should say, with a better quarterback. Another decent offseason. Yes, they have 7 or 8 wins. They're not a 10-win team.
I think they would look a little bit more like the Colts if it were, if this is all the ifs and buts.
Yeah,
we'd all have a happy New Year, however that goes. But solid special teams, less penalties, better quarterback play. Yeah, I think you can look week by week. All of the games they've had the lead in the third quarter.
Even with the special teams
lead in the fourth quarter. Yeah.
If they had competent quarterback play,
they
still would have won some of those games.
And at the end of the day, Adam, D. Mason and I were debating this, and I'm sure it'll be debated the next few weeks too, is, the silver lining is you could, if you have the 3rd or 4th pick, you're in a much better position to wheel and deal to get the guy that you want or get more picks. Whereas, for example, last year they had the 7th pick, but they were sort of at the mercy of what the teams in front of them did. If they had their eye on Alt, maybe they had their eye on Latham and they got who they wanted, but there was a lot of maybe you could trade down, but I think there's probably less people trying to trade up to 7. But if you're 3rd, there's probably a few more people that might call and want to trade up to 3rd, where you could say, wow, we could still get the guy we want, but we could get a couple extra picks. So that's maybe the net result of the pain of not having the 3 or 4 extra wins.
It sounds a little bit like what Barry Trotz was saying last week about the Predators with the way their season has been going. And by the way, Predators Hurricanes tonight at 7, puck drop at 6, right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. But Barry Trotz was talking about, we've got these veteran players, we've got good young players, and now we may have a top 5 draft pick with how poorly they've been playing. So perhaps that is the silver lining with the Titans, by the way. If they want to move up in the draft order, they need to lose on Sunday. Jacksonville right ahead of them at 3rd, Titans at 4th. So if they want to increase their draft odds, might not want to win on Sunday, but that's us talking. They're certainly going to go out there and try to win.
Well, this is, again, what you're in. You heard Teron talking about a guy like Kenneth Murray. We know Tony Pollard is limited right now. I've seen teams do this. This is not a conspiracy theory or anything like that, but what teams do at this time of the year, especially for the good of the player, sometimes it's a win-win in that respect. You take a player and say, look, you're hurt. If we were playing for something, absolutely you would tough it out and go in there, but let your body heal. We'll see you next year. Murray and Pollard are both free agents that they picked up. I think they'll be in the plans for next year. At least I would hope.
Yeah.
Or otherwise, it's a total bust. Why did you do it to begin with if they were only going to be a stopgap for this year? But you can shut them down. You put other hungry young guys in there. See what you've got. If they play well above their head and they win, okay, good. You get a look at some young guys. But if you come up short, then all right. The results are what they are.
Jeffrey Simmons said it right, man. Listen, we are playing for next year. That's what we're essentially playing for. They're coaching for next year. if you're the GM, you're trying to find a way. How do you make this team better next year? Listen, I made it my point today not to listen to any of our shows, because I know a lot of our shows probably were, talking in some form of fashion about Rand losing his job or Callahan losing his job.
So I would suggest, Derek, that you don't listen for the next 4 hours.
Yeah,
after
I want, as much as seriously, as much as I love Jared, and Jared has great takes and he's well thought out.
Well, Jared for a month has been saying more than that.
Exactly. But everybody's already heard it. Everybody has already heard the fire Rand or keep Rand or fire Callie or keep Callie. Everybody's heard that. How does this team, from a personnel standpoint, get better as the remainder of these games? And when I mean get better, I mean from the standpoint of emotionally and physically.
Six 615-737-1025. We'll be right back. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Bingit, 1025-1063, The Game.
You know Dasher, and Dancer, and Prancer, and Vixen, Comet and Cupid, Donner and Blitzen. But do you recall the most famous reindeer of all? Rudolph the
It's D-Base, Bingen, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Bingen here with you. Stillman and Company coming up next. Predators, Hurricanes tonight. Puck drop at 7, pregame at 6, right here on 102.5, 106.3, The Game. But joining us on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, Pat Sperduto is here to join us and tell us all about his Christmas Miracle Drive. Pat, thank you so much for joining us. Let everybody know what you're doing this holiday season.
Yeah, how you doing, Adam and Willie and D-Mace and
Coach, what's going on?
Hey, Pat. And we've been so lucky and blessed, our family and friends that have gone out and helped every year for the last 28 years. We've gone out and we've fed the homeless, and we've tried to give them presents that we've been fortunate to get from the people in the community, and we're trying to do that again. It's the last day is today and tomorrow to drop off new gloves, socks, blankets, and knit hats to any of the 4 neighbors restaurants who D-Mace, your boy Zach Pillar's come up big for me again this year and allowed us to
That's wonderful.
use his restaurants for drop off, and they have 4 locations: Germantown, Franklin, the Gulch, and Sylvan Park. And you'll see it's called Art Paducah's Christmas Miracle, and that's a story within itself because I'm Art Paducah, and it goes back to like I said, 28 years now we've gone out, and on Christmas Day, Willie and his family's been a part of it, and Darren McFarland and his family, and the Warren brothers, and Yogi's Pizzeria, and so many people have been a part of it. We deliver, 300 to 500 meals and deliver all new socks and hats and gloves to the homeless, and it's our chance to give back to this community that's given so much to us. So we're so grateful, and we can't thank all the people that are out there that have helped us.
Pat, it's Willie. I hope you can hear me okay. We're getting through technically here from Bridgestone Arena. But if you will, can you share the Art Paducah story? I think it's great. It has to do with a priest that was trying to give you a lot of compliments for what you were doing, but he didn't quite get your name right.
Right. We were in church on Sunday, and my son and I went to a different mass because he had something in the afternoon. So we went to a separate mass, and Cosmo, my son, and myself, we sat in the back, like way in the back by the door, so we could make a quick exit when the mass was over. And then Father Breen at Holy Family, God rest his soul, he starts into the eulogy, and he starts talking about this guy whose kids go to the school here, and he's a sports guy, and he's done so much for the school, and he's walking around like in between, up and down the aisles, telling the story about this guy Art Paducah, and we're looking, I'm literally looking around to see who is this guy. He sounds like a great guy, And I keep looking, and my son goes, "Dad, I think he's talking about you." I said, "No, he's talking about Art." And so I keep looking, and all of a sudden, 2 seconds later, he makes a beeline to me, and he goes, "Art, stand up." And he's standing right next to me. And I was like, oh, my goodness. And everybody in the church who knows me just starts cracking up. They have no idea. And I stood up and said, "Yep, I'm Art Paducah. Nice meeting everybody." I sat back down. So that's kind of how we got the name Art Paducah, because Yogi's Pizzeria Yogi was there, and the Warren brothers were there, and it was like that, and next thing you know, now like even the school gets involved. They decorate all the bags that the meals go in. So it's been awesome. I could never thank this city for everything they've done for me through the years. Since the day I got here, I've been so lucky, and it's my one day to kind of give back to people who are less fortunate. And if we get a smile, and Willie will tell you, Erin's a superstar. She goes out and she makes everybody feel such great worth within themselves, and we get more out of it. I know it sounds like we're giving, but in actuality, we're getting. We get more out of that day every year. My kids have known nothing other than Christmas morning. Let's go. We're going out and we're taking care of the homeless first before anything. Before we eat a meal, before we open a present, it's them first. And like I said, we win. We get the most out of it without question. And Willie will tell you the same thing. I've seen his kids since they were tiny, and they get the same thing. When you're giving back, it's such a fulfilling moment when you can make somebody smile that maybe doesn't have everything going their way.
Yeah, I've witnessed it firsthand, and I do think it is a very, very special thing that you've spearheaded here, Pat, and we've been honored to be a part of it. So let's just get this last word out to people that are doing their last-minute Christmas shopping. Maybe they're driving around today. Maybe they'll be driving around tomorrow. I know I'll be doing some last-minute Christmas shopping, as I always do on Christmas Eve. But Pat, give out the info one more time. I know there's a QR code that we have tweeted out that if you just want to straight up make a donation. But the other thing is, if you've got some warm clothes that you have a chance to just drop off, stuff that you are done with, it's still in decent shape, all sizes, because we do see some younger people, but the really big stuff too is always a big hit. Drop it off at the points. But Pat, give out the info one more time. And again, go to our Twitter and you'll see the information as well if you miss it.
Yeah, it's the first I'll give you the Instagram. It's at Art Paducah, spelled like the city, PADUCAH _ Christmas Miracle. And there's a QR code on that. And then the 4 locations that are still available are the Neighbors restaurants. There's the original one in Sylvan Park. There's the new one in the Gulch. There's Germantown. And there's, of course, the new Franklin location. And the boxes are there. As soon as you walk in, you can't miss it. They're big, huge boxes, and they have our flyer on it and says, Our Paducah's Christmas Miracle. Whatever you drop in those boxes, believe me, nothing is going to go to waste, and everything goes to the homeless. This isn't a business or anything like that. It all goes directly to the homeless. Every single thing that you give goes directly to them. That's what this is all about. It's all about them.
Pat Sperduto joining us on the program. Please, if you can help out, please do so. Pat, thank you so much for joining us. Have a happy holiday.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to all. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Pat. Pat Sperduto joining us on the program. Quickly, Predators and Hurricanes tonight at 7 o'clock. Puck drop at 6 right here. Pregame at 6 right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Willie, the Predators looking for that elusive winning streak, which they have not had in about 2 months. They defeated the Kings in overtime. They broke that losing streak after 7 consecutive overtime losses, but they're looking to head into the Christmas break with their first winning streak since late October.
Yeah, this would be a Christmas wish, Adam, of okay, it's not what you want, but if you could go into Christmas 4-1-1, this is a big if, 4-1-1 playing against really good teams, you feel better about the direction of where things are going. They had another game where that was teetering. They had a 2-0 lead against a really good team, let the lead get away, but found a way to come back and get the win. That's the type of win that has been slipping through their grasp a lot. But if they can beat another really good team in the Hurricanes tonight, I think you hear Andrew Brunette saying this a lot. 2 out of every 3. 2 out of every 3. If you can do that, you still will feel better about your game. You'll see where the season goes. But Barry Trotz, of course, has got to look at short-term and long-term, but all you can do is play the game tonight. Carolina's a really good team. They won in New York yesterday against the Rangers. This will be their 3rd game in 4 nights on the back half of a back-to-back. That's a tough road trip.
Predators and Hurricanes tonight at 7, pregame at 6, puck drop at 7, right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. That'll do it for us today. We will be back on Thursday. No shows tomorrow or Wednesday because of the holiday. We will be back Thursday at 11 o'clock. A special Monday edition of Fours Company. Connor Newt, Nick Frazier, Nick Keyser coming up next. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Be love on your people. Have a wonderful and blessed Christmas. Peace.
Closing time. Turn all of the lights on.